Welcome to the podcast Design Your Success, the podcast that bridges the gap between human design and business. Every episode shares the inspiring story of a business owner who is real, raw, and honest. Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of the Design Your Success podcast, the podcast where human design and business meet. I'm your host. My name is Nicoline, and I am absolutely thrilled to have a very special guest today, and that's Michelle Thomas. And meet Michelle because she is the technical trainer who knows how to bring heart and soul to using technology to solve real world problems. With over 30 years of experience in the industry, Michelle has helped countless creators and coaches bring their custom processes to life. Most recently, through the power of digital planners and journals. I love them. Armed with a degree in software engineering and a background in psychology, Michelle is a true expert in her field. So, what sets Michelle apart is her love for helping people. She knows that not everyone can afford costly coaching services, which is why she's dedicated their career to creating low cost products that can help those in the messy middle. So, Michelle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so
Maybe a
am
little
I.
nervous, but very excited.
Oh, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So tell me a bit about you, Michelle. How did you get into starting your business? Because you have quite a story to share here.
I do. So 27 years ago, I gave birth to a bouncing baby boy and wanted to work from home and couldn't. So over the years, lots of degrees later, because I was a professional student, and two more kids later, I ended up with my 18-year-old starting this blog, Printables Buzz. And in Printables Buzz, we were creating templates and just general printables for planning and resources, which is ironic because I'm ADHD, as I told you. And so I live in a very scattered and yet perfectionist world that requires lots of notes. I fell in love with digital planners. And because of my IT background, I'm a software architect and database designer by day, usually. People kept coming to me and asking me, how do I do this? How do I fix this? How does this work? And I love teaching. I was also a technical trainer for a few years. ADHD came out in my career. And so I love the whole concept of training. I got started with this particular avenue of working from home because I wanted my daughter to know that no matter how many degrees she goes to get, because she's headed down that path, that there are always things that she can do for herself, by herself. And so we created this thing together. But I've been blogging for 5 years in other places and still keep coming back to this whole, my strong suit is teaching people that are terrified of tech how to use the tech. That is what I've done since I was 15, teaching my mom how to use QuickBooks, which wasn't QuickBooks back then. And what I do now is in my day job is teach people how to use their software that we've written together. And I have a superpower of being able to make things easy when it comes to tech.
I love that.
So it's been my superpower for many, many years.
Oh, but I love that. There are so many people lost in the tech world, and they really find it hard to find their way forward in all the ever-changing tech stuff. That can be really hard, right?
It can be, and it causes stress and anxiety for small business owners. And you have to understand that my biggest passion in life, yes, I'm really good at teaching people tech, But I want women to be able to create things that support them in a way that they want to. I have volunteered countless hours to various startups in my past to help them get out of this male dominated. Guys explain things different. It is scary and it's uncomfortable and they feel stupid asking questions. And a lot of times with women, if they can ask another woman, they don't feel stupid.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like my underlying passion, is helping moms be able to raise their kids in the way they want to, whether that means working from home or working someplace else. For
Yeah.
me, my passion was being a mom, not having to farm my kids out to daycare,
Mm.
which created a lot of stress and a lot of discomfort. And I'm very pigheaded and stubborn, and I made it happen anyway.
It's so funny that you're saying that, because just before we hit record for this podcast, I had a look at your human design, and I'm not surprised that you're doing exactly that. But it's so wonderful that what you do is so much in alignment with your human design, because you are a generator.
Okay.
And generators' best strategy is waiting to respond. And that doesn't mean that you don't do a thing, but it means that you look out for the cues, and that's what you respond to. And everything that you've done and everything that you've described so far is all in response to what you experienced in life, what you see, what other people are experiencing in life. And you respond to that by creating your services and your business and all of that. So that's just wonderful. So even without you knowing, you are living at least one part of your design, and that's the waiting to respond bit. And that's for many generators a very hard thing, because generators are the majority of people. So I'm a generator too. The
Okay.
group of generators represents 37% of the entire population. There is another big group, which is the manifesting generators. They are 33%. So together, we're 70% of the entire population. But generators do have the power, the energy, and like the sustainable energy to keep going. And you just told me that you have so many degrees and you have the ADHD. So that's very typical for generators to have the energy to do all these things and to do all these very different things as well. So that's very typical for generators. Now, tell me a bit about what you think is success, because especially for moms, and I love it what you said about wanting to help moms raising their kids in a way that they want to. Um, so what would you say is success? How do you define success?
Okay. I have two different answers to this question because, that's me.
Mhm.
I have a overarching principle that for me, success is raising participating members of society in my kids. I have one that's a Navy nuke, another one graduating as valedictorian, and we're yet to see what the third one's going to do. He's 17 and he's still figuring out what his world's going to look like.
Yeah.
So that is my mom's success. Part of that mom's success is, for example, the blog that my daughter and I do at Printables Buzz. That's teaching her she's going to be a physical therapist, which has absolutely nothing to do with bullet journaling, but I'm teaching her to have an outlet that also generates income
Mm.
because it's her like de-stressing time. And success in business to me has another two parts. One, knowing that I'm not a sleazy salesman and I'm actually helping people. That is a big success to me.
Mm.
The other one is keep taking steps forward to make my world look the way I want it to look.
Mm.
It does not matter whether it's a 63-cent Stripe income, which I kid you not, my husband just came and said, honey, why was there 63 cents deposited by Stripe? And it was because there was a template that I sold that after the coupon and the Stripe fees, literally it was 63 cents deposited, or it's selling a $500 custom planner to a coach, because I
Mm.
also have coaches that I work one-on-one with where we figure out what their coaching process is and we create a journal or a planner based on things that make them feel good.
Mm.
So um in the middle there I'm getting ready to launch a Facebook group that will help people use the dusty old PLR and stuff on their hard drive and create planners themselves.
Mm. Yeah.
So uh, with like a really low dollar membership so that I can help them.
Mhm.
It does not matter whether it's the 63 cents, the low dollar membership, or the $500 planner. Each one of those sales take me one step closer to the design of the life that I want
Yeah.
now that I'm a grandma and
Oh,
a mom
I
of high
love it.
school students. Yeah, they told us for 8 years we couldn't have more kids. So they're 27 to 17. So we're
Mm.
grandparents and parents of high schoolers.
Wow.
So I have a picture of how I want to design this. And part of that is making these small steps forward and doing things like saying, yes, I'll be on your podcast so
Yeah.
more people can hear. You know, each one of those is a step forward, and each one of those are a success.
I love
It's
that.
not $1 million launch, but it's taking me toward that end goal of a life that I want.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love that you have so many different definitions of success because I fully agree. There is no just one single definition of success. And especially for many people, when you look at the online world, many people would say, having a six-figure business or a seven-figure business, that's success. But I love it what you said about, being a mom and having your own definition of success, and being a business owner and having your definition, plural, of success there.
Yes.
And I fully agree with you that every sale that you do, even if it's very small, it contributes to the life that we want and that we are looking for. And the nice thing about this is that as a generator, to weave in the human design element
Yes.
into the definition of success is not so much, chasing the money or the numbers or any of that. What we as generators should be chasing is satisfaction. That's when we reach the level of satisfaction, that's when we are successful. And then money will be a byproduct, an automatic byproduct, and not like in small amounts, but it will just follow automatically. So if we follow the joy and we follow the pleasure of what it is that we do and the excitement, and does it light me up, does it make me happy, does it bring me joy, then we will be successful. And I absolutely love that you have these different definitions of it, because there is no just one definition of success. So, so because what I was thinking when you were explaining this about your definitions of success, have you always considered these to be your definitions of success, or has that changed over time due to things that you encountered on your journey?
I'm going to say it's changed. One of the biggest pivot points in my life was 8 years ago when my dad died.
Mm.
It rocked me. My dad had an eighth grade education, and he was a multimillionaire when he died and did not share. It was our job to make our lives ourselves. He did not want us to have, he said, anything that was given to you, you took for granted and didn't appreciate it. And that
Mm.
life's joy came from striving to get to that point. that was, this is the same man that told me, if I wanted to move in with my boyfriend, then it was easier to make a mistake than it was to live with the regret. 30 years later, I'm still living with my boyfriend. It's just that we got married 27 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, my mother was livid. You're telling her to live in sin. Very religious household. But when he passed, I had to sit back and look at my satisfaction level with my life. And it was about zero, because I have a big problem with unethical people. And I hate to say this, but the IT world is full of those. And I really wanted something that fired me up and made me feel good inside. And at that point, I started looking at where I was successful and where I wasn't. And I'm blessed with 3 amazing kids, a husband that supports me no matter what crazy harebrained idea I come up with, and a very good life. I make a very comfortable living in my day job, and it's which my husband has told me it's too comfortable because I don't always stretch out of my box. But when my dad passed, I had to take a step back, because he had always been my sounding board. He was the one that I went to and said, well, here's my next harebrained idea. What do you think? And how can I spin this? And, we were boxing buddies because, we could yell, but at the same time, he was that person in my life. And with him gone, I did a bunch of soul searching and figured out, first of all, I needed to lose 180 pounds because I wasn't going to live to see my children grow up. And then figured out where I thought I was, where I was successful and where I wanted to change. And by that point, I had my daughter. She was actually, it was longer than 10 years ago because she was younger than 8. But I wanted to provide a roadmap for her and figure out what that roadmap would look like. Because up until that point, I'd worked in a male-dominated field. My daddy was my person, and we had 1 son. Even all of our dogs were boys.
Wow.
I literally died when I found out I was having a daughter because I didn't know anything about girls. I told my husband, I said, I can't do this. I can't. He says, well, you don't have a choice. You're 7 months pregnant, and in 2 months, you're having a girl. So I wanted some kind of a roadmap for her, because the boys, they go after dad. They try to mimic dad. But I knew that girls, my daughter, would in some way mimic some of the things that I did. And my mom was not a role model that I wanted to be for her. I role modeled after my father. I'm that rare daughter that, my dad was my world, and I role modeled after him because I didn't want to role model after my mom, but I wanted her to role model after me. And that is how I came up with what I would view as successful, was really diving deep inside me and figuring out not what somebody else thought was success, because that didn't work. It had to be what I thought would be a success. And so, just
I love that.
go down a
What a
rabbit
beautiful
hole.
story. But what a beautiful story. And I can totally relate to the moment, these are the pivotal moments that really stop us, and that we have to think about our lives and whether or not we're actually doing the things that we want to leave as a legacy to our kids, right? Those are absolutely the moments. And it's so beautiful when I look at your human design. It's you're a 6-2 generator, and especially the profile line 6 has such a beautiful element of stages in your life. So you have the first stage of about from 0 to 30 years old, about 30. It's not like exactly 30, but in those first 30 years, you do things, you experiment, you test, you try, you do a lot of things, and you find out whether or not you like it. Between 30 and 50, what you do is that you start reflecting, you start looking at your life up until that point, like, okay, is this what I really want to be doing? Does it light me up? Does it bring me joy? And then you start making choices. And that's exactly what you did.
Yes.
You started making choices. And
And I'm a
now,
late bloomer.
yeah, but that's in your profile because the third stage of a profile line 6, and that's in your design, is that as of 50, you start giving back everything that you have been learning for the first 50 years. And that's the wonderful thing about your profile, that the first 50 years, you have learned so many lessons, you've done so many things. And as of 50, you can just give back. And that's what I love when I talk to people with a 6 in their profile, because they are also a role model. So, and it's literally called the role model in human design. Profile line 6 is the role model. So you are a role model to other people, and you don't even have to try really hard, but you are a role model. And as of 50, things will only get better.
Well, that's good because I'll be 53 in November.
Yeah.
So, you say that, and I just realized I said 8 years ago, my dad died when I was 42, because for my 42nd birthday, my oldest and I were stuck in Boston trying to get back to New York from Colorado. Now I'm in Colorado because we moved back home. But it was my 42nd birthday. We were stuck in Boston.
Yeah.
It was an adventure.
Oh,
Um, and so all of this took place like between 42 and 44 of the reflecting and figuring out. And
yeah.
my oldest is honestly very, very tired of hearing me say, and my job is to raise participating members of society, because he'll say, Mom, I'm participating. I have 2 kids of my own. I'm married, and you don't co-sign anything. And I said, yeah, exactly. So I said, I've got 2 more to get there. Uh, but then it was right around 50-ish where I decided, okay, I can't do this anymore. I have got to figure out some way to not have my soul sucked out of my body on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I pivoted, because in my mind, my dad, as I said that it is uh, much easier to recover from failure than it is to live with regret. In my mind, pivoting is like one of the most important things that you can do in life. Because if you see something isn't working, but you know where you want to get, sometimes it requires a change.
Yeah.
I was a weight loss coach because I lost a significant amount of weight after being overweight my entire life. So I thought, okay, I'll be a weight loss coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I
So,
shouldn't be a weight loss coach, because
yeah.
that's not my superpower. My superpower is helping people feel comfortable with tech and understanding when they want to be with their kids, but they need help.
Yeah.
That is my superpower.
Yeah. So how did you
So
find out? How did you find out because I know people will be listening now and they're like, I want to know what my
I want to
superpower
know what
is.
my superpower is. Well, I will tell you, as I was building my weight loss business, all of my friends came to me and wanted help with connecting their lead magnet, or building, they couldn't figure out how to make this work with this, or they couldn't figure out what button to push to create a sales page. They wasn't software I used, but I was like, hey, let's get on Zoom. Let's talk for 5 minutes. And I'm willing to bet I can figure it out. Do you know 99% of the time I was able to help them take that next step? But
Mm.
the problem became that I would look forward to that and I would hop on those calls instead of doing the things I needed to do to build my weight loss business. So I was giving away all my time, which there's nothing wrong with that. There, I still give away more than I take in because it lights my fire.
Mhm.
But I can't replace my day job if I don't charge people something.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So I looked at my husband and I was like, I just can't do the weight loss coaching. I'm gaining weight because I am very empathic. I can't say the word, but I
Mhm.
am.
Yeah.
And I feel other people's feelings on a very deep level, to the point where every time somebody was having issues, it was hurting me.
Mm.
So I had to kind of put up, and I don't have very good walls.
Mhm. I know. I've seen that in your human design.
My walls suck. They're like tissue paper. And so I had to find something that lit my fire and let me help people,
Mm.
but at the same time allowed me to build a business. And if I could do it with my daughter, all the better.
Yeah.
She loves bullet journaling since she was like 9. Every Sunday, her and I sit down and do our weekly plan so that um, mom doesn't forget, because thank goodness she is very organized and got her father's ability to focus on
Mhm.
things,
Great.
and I'm not. So I didn't forget to pick them up from soccer, didn't forget to do this, do that, do the other thing. We sat down every Sunday and we would
Mm.
plan out the week. So I knew what to put in the meals. It's called compensating for our weaknesses, ladies.
Mhm.
If you know you're a scatterbrain, then you need all of these like little boundaries, bells and whistles that go off.
Yeah.
But I was trying to incorporate an entire household, and she, in her lovely little brain that holds on to everything, was the queen of mom, we've got this, mom, we've got that.
Mhm.
I didn't want to depend on her all week because that's not fair. She was a kid.
Yeah.
So we made planning a a mom daughter activity every single Sunday.
Oh, that's great.
She did the bullet journals, I did the weekly plan. So that's what we did when we did the website. Was she does anything with bullet journaling. They don't come out all that often because she's very busy, but when they do, she does an amazing job.
Yeah.
So it gives us that, still that together time, because I hate to say this, at 18, she doesn't have time to sit and plan with me.
But I love it that you created the business out of responding to your and you call it compensation, but I would say it's navigating what life has given you. And there are huge advantages of having ADHD, of having the open centers that you have when it comes to, feeling other people's feelings. Because what it does, and I already saw that in your design, is that it helps you to fully understand and know and feel what people need. And that's like one of the best talents that you can have when it comes to clients. Of course, when you have that quality, it's very hard to shut it down because when you have it, you cannot just switch something off like, oh, now I'm not going to feel anything. No, that's not the way it works.
No,
Um,
sadly.
Sadly not. But what I love is that you used what life threw at you and you turned it around and used it to your advantage, and you built a great business with your daughter. And I think it's such a wonderful thing to do because you are, like I said, you have the 6 in your profile, so you are a role model to her. And what the implicit message that you're giving to her is, use what you got to the max and turn that into use that to your advantage. That's what
Yes.
you do. And that's such a great message that you're giving. Like, okay, we're running a business together, but I'm using what I have. And instead of seeing like, oh yeah, but I have ADHD, I cannot plan, and I have a scattered brain, you use it to turn that around and say like, okay, so this is a tool. It helps me. Hopefully it helps other people too.
Yes.
So I absolutely love that about how you did this. And speaking about, leaving a legacy, that is definitely something that your kids will stick with them for the rest of their lives. That's the best lesson you can give them, I think.
My daughter and I both have extreme anxiety. So we also I use the hyper focus of ADHD to power through things and fortunately forget things until the last minute that give me anxiety, like our
Yeah,
call.
yeah.
Um, and so we use that common boundary, that common thread to help push each other forward.
Mm, yeah,
And I think that that is a big, based on what you're saying with the 6, because she's very definitely a 6 too. Um, based on what you're saying, it's like we feed off of each other
hmm,
and build. And
yeah,
I know I use the empathy side of my structure when I'm working with people with tech,
yeah,
because I can tell when they don't quite get it. I
exactly.
can tell when it's causing them stress. And that all goes back to that whole with heart,
Yeah,
because I can see it and feel it when I'm
yeah,
talking to them.
yeah,
And I'm able to help them navigate that little pathway to get to where they want to be. And then on the other side of it, they feel better,
yeah,
which makes me feel better. It's
yeah.
it's a lot easier to deal with that uncertainty and that feeling of overwhelm when it's about tech than it is about, weight loss.
Yeah, yeah. But the funny thing is, it really shows in your profile that you have these open centers. So the anxiety, for instance, when you look at your body graph, there are 9 centers in the body graph, and one of them is the root center. And the root center is all about, it's a pressure center, first of all, because it picks up when it's open, it picks up on other people's energy there, and it picks up on other people's pressure. So anxiety is a very well-known issue for people with an open root center. So even without you not mentioning anything yet about that, I knew that could be an element that is at play here. Um, and another thing that's working for you and your daughter is that you both have open centers. So what you do is that you reflect one another's strengths and energies, and you work with that. So when you respond to that, then you help each other forward doing exactly that. So that's what I absolutely love about your story. Um, so when we look at that, when you look back, so being a 6,
Okay.
having a 6 in your profile, when you look back on your entire journey so far, what would you say are the top 3 things that you learned and that you would love our listeners to learn too?
Well, are you talking about with human design specifically?
Not specifically, but
Okay.
in general, the 3
In general,
things that
with
you
life,
would love to pass on to other people.
I think that people need to know that success has to be their design, whether they find out what their human design is, because keep in mind, until today, I only kind of guessed. Nicoline has been great because I had no idea really. I kind of knew, but didn't know. And they build it out from there, or they just sit back and reflect. Because the other piece that's really important is that my dad said it to me. I said it to my daughter this morning. It is easier to jump the hurdle of failure because you're learning something than it is to get to the end of the road and have massive regrets.
Mm.
You know, my dad, thank goodness, said that to me. I say it to my kids all the time. And I encourage them, and I encourage your listeners to really listen inside, because although I don't know a lot about human design, I know that since I was 18 and did DECA, which is a business club, that the way I overcome my anxiety is with breathing exercises that focus in you focus below the belly button and then breathe. And had no idea until you said today that that's where the root chakra is. That is, or the root, I don't know what you called it.
The root center.
Okay, the root center.
Yeah.
But I learned today that the reason that probably works for my daughter and I to calm our anxiety and to allow us to pay attention inside is because it is bringing energy, positive energy, hopefully,
Yeah.
into that area and expanding.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 years, let's see, my oldest granddaughter will be 3. So over the last 3 years, I have really focused on different meditations that help me like push away what everybody says works. Because what everybody else says is not designing the world that I want or the world that I can cope with the anxiety that I have.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that I can do to build my business that work with me instead of against me. And it doesn't have to be a repetitive $1 million launch where I have to be visible all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It can be more of a smaller world and I can still be equally successful. But had I not taken the time to listen inside, to know what would work for me, and now I'm learning what would work for my human design,
Mm-hmm.
I would be building something that worked for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of this whole concept is figure out what your version of success is, figure out what you want it to look like at the end, and then listen inside to build what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. I love what you said about that we really need to listen inside and shape the future the way we want it, because there's no one definition of, okay, this is what it should look like. And especially when we look in the online world, it's so easy to compare ourselves to others and to create something that we think we need to create, but what exhausts us and is not what we want. So I love what you said about, $1 million launches and being visible all the time. It's so important that we find our own way, and we have everything that we need. We don't
Yes.
need anything else. We already have it. There's so much innate wisdom in us, but all we need to do is listen, tap into it and listen. And
Yes.
I absolutely love the lessons that you shared. So yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for all of this. And I'm sure people will start looking you up, because we will be sharing your details in the description. And I look forward to talking more about your human design. And let's stay in touch.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me today. It was a
You're so
load of
welcome.
fun.
You're so welcome. So how's the anxiety now?
It's better. Yeah, it's fine. It's always like the leading up to
Yeah,
piece. Yeah.
that's good.
So,
That's good. All right. It was a pleasure talking to you. So thank you for this, and we'll stay in touch.
okay, Nicoline, you have a
All
great day.
right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Design Your Success podcast. If you would like to be a guest, make sure to go to our website, www.nicolinhuizinga.com.